beloved All Saints. Every November, around this time of year, I take a white piece of paper and I start a new list, an All Saints list for that year. Whenever a member of our church or a family member passes away, I write down their name on that list and I put it in the file folder and I keep it. You see that list in the bulletin this morning, all of the names. It's the same list as the one that I keep. And as I look down that list and I read those names and I think about those people and I think about who they were, I can see their faces, how they lived, what they did, and I can remember how they died as well, and the effect that it had on their families and on the people who loved them. It can be a hard list to read every year. There is plenty of suffering there on that list. There is loss. Some of us have deep connections to those names on that list. And we feel strong emotions of loss and grief when we read it. We hear the names read out loud. The All Saints list. I'd like us to think about lists this morning. Lists of names on All Saints Sunday. We keep lists of lots of different things. Every Sunday in the bulletin we have another list of names, a prayer list. Things and people that we are praying for, and it's there every week. And there's a great variety of things on that list. It can be births, marriages, confirmation, funerals, and of course sickness. Sickness is on that list. But as you go through that list through the year, and we look at that list of names and the prayer list, it's sort of a snapshot of the way that we live our lives and the different things that happen to us. Good and bad, the joy that God grants us, the difficulties that we go through as Christian people in this world. And names pop on that list and go off and continually going. And the prayer list is a picture of our life as Christians. All Saints Sunday is a day for lists. Jesus makes a list as well in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5. We call it the Beatitudes. And it is a list of people, conditions, and things and circumstances in our life. It too is a list of how we live. Poor in spirit, the meek, those who mourn, those who hunger for righteousness, those who are persecuted, those who make peace. It's a list. That's simply what it is. And this list is no better than the other two. It doesn't leave things off. You know, Jesus, when he makes the list, he doesn't make a Fantasyland list of being a Christian when he's describing what it's like. It's not filled with happy faces and smiling emojis and all the good things we like to think about. It's a list that really reflects how we live, what actually happens to us. We may be pure in Christ, we are, but we may also be persecuted. We may be peacemakers, but we may feel poor in spirit, in our hearts. We might be meek, but also mourning. It's another list for All Saints' Day. Real life saints from Jesus' own mouth. There is one change we make. You know, I keep that file folder in my office. But we make a change when we take those names off of that list and we put them into the bulletin and we read them this morning. And that is that we put a Bible passage with them. Each name is paired with a passage. And I think each name is paired with a promise. We remember the person and their life, and then we stick God's promise to each one with that passage, a gospel promise. To each departed Christian, there is a promise attached. We do not simply read the names but we remember God's promise with them. We do not remember those who have passed away, those people this past year who have died, all of the ones we remember on this day. We don't remember them as perhaps we saw them last, awful memories of suffering or pain. We don't simply remember them as people who are gone, as if they are simply a hole in our life that isn't there anymore, as if they have ceased to exist and aren't there anymore. No, we remember them. We remember their entire lives, as Jesus does in the Beatitudes, the good and the bad, and we put God's promise with it. We don't remember simply with our own powers of memory, but we read the names and we add the promise. This is what we must do and what we do whenever we think about those who have gone before us, when we regard the loss and the grieving that is part of our lives. We add God's promise. Isn't this what Jesus did in the Beatitudes? He gives us a list. The poor in spirit, the mourning, the persecuted. But after each one, he adds a promise. Poor in spirit, the kingdom of heaven will be theirs. Do you mourn? You will be comforted. Are you meek? You will inherit the earth. Persecuted? Your reward is great in heaven. With each description of the life of a Christian, Jesus adds a promise of the future. Jesus knows how we live, and he knows how we die. He knows our prayer lists, and our All Saints list, and our days and nights. And what Jesus does is he adds his promise to it. He tells us that he has lived and he has died. He has conquered death and sickness and woe. And he has taken those who have gone before us into his presence. That is his promise. That is the list that he makes. Christ, the crucified and risen one, will bring us, has brought those who have gone before us, and will bring us into his greater presence. The people who have gone before us lived promised lives. We lead promised lives. They are not lives that end in a dead end. They are not lives that end like a machine shutting down and is simply gone. Our lives are promised lives. We live through the valleys and the mountaintops, the ups and the downs, the blessings and the difficulties, but we walk through them and live with them, having been promised. We have promises attached to us. And those promises do not fail. For Christ died and rose to guarantee those promises to us. We do two things today. We acknowledge our loss and our grief, difficult deaths, hard endings. We acknowledge the valley that we walk through, the valley of the shadow of death. We don't pretend. We don't put smiley faces over everything. But we today add the promise. We do not go through today without adding the promise. Those who die are with Jesus. Those who mourn will be comforted. Those promises are what today is about. I will mention one more list. The Bible has a list called the Lamb's Book of Life, in the book of Revelation. Who will enter heaven? Those whose names are written in the Lamb's Book of Life. What a glorious list that is. The promise list come true. The All Saints list with no one left out. The first half of the Beatitudes swallowed up by the second half. The promise swallows everything in the Lamb's Book of Life. Our mourning and our loss overwhelmed by God's promise and by Jesus' victory over death. The Lamb has died for the sheep. Heaven is open. Our names, all the names we recite in the bulletin, are written in the Lamb's Book of Life. Our name is there also. In the name of the Father, and of the the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.